let me know if we're back. You can raise your hand. You can unmute and say we're back so that we can continue. Are we there? Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's start. And I'm going to also skip some slides for the want of time so that we can finish on time in 30 minutes and go spend our weekends. So I'm just going to do one skipping. So what is digital transformation? We've learned about digital, we have learned about transformation. Then bringing these two words together, I mean, it's going to be beautiful to see what it is really. But before we do that, let's look at what Simon Preston of Vupa said. The biggest part of our digital transformation is changing the way we think. It's very, very important. It's always, you see, most of these veterans have always focused on people, people, people. So changing the way we think is the biggest part of digital transformation. And of course, Warren Buffett, which is of course a legendary investor and business tycoon, said that digital transformation is a fundamental reality for business today. Businesses must transform. And we have a very short clip here that will take us about a few minutes. And we'll just listen and see, it was an European Technology Index in 2028, which talks about the maturing views of digital transformation. Let's listen for 2 minutes.
A number of things come out of the index in terms of the way the attitudes towards digital transformation, but the one that struck me was the fact that organizations are slightly more increased about the way in which they see through their digital transformation projects. And I'm wondering why that is. Is it because we've been doing these sort of deals for a few years now and they look great when struck, but it's the implementation piece that's the more difficult piece?
I think that's inevitably true. I think, the hard learning of experience has now happened. All of the respondents to our survey will have been through one, if not more, transformation programs. And what comes with that experience is probably a degree of cynicism, but also realism about the time these things take, and more importantly, about how you have to manage your retained organisation through. You cannot outsource a problem. You need to keep or recruit skilled people to help you in the long-term management of that engagement to really realise those transformational benefits that you will have been promised in an RFP response.
And interestingly, I was at a digital roundtable that we were hosting in Dubai just a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of the people who were attending that were the senior VPs for two of the largest Middle East retail consortiums. So big outfits who are responsible for a number of name brands that we'd recognise. And the thing that slightly surprised me from both of them was that they were both very, very concerned about digital transformation in terms of the pace of its implementation within their worlds, recognising that within the retail sector in particular, it was a necessity, not a choice, but also saying that they didn't see too many examples of it having been done well, and not necessarily in terms of an implementation of technology perspective, but more in terms of the management of the people and organisational change aspects. And that's where that requirement for talent and experience really comes to the fore. Because if it's like the use of things like agile technologies as a means of speeding up the process and keeping in line with the expectations of business, if you don't have people who know what agile is as a methodology, who've lived it and breathed it and realised the differences between other methodologies, you're heading for the rocks.
Thank you very much. I hope that was insightful. Yeah, I mean, if you listen to that carefully, you're going to understand again, appreciate again what digital transformation is. Yeah, from that discussion, I picked up two things. You cannot outsource your problems. You need to develop people within the business to help you solve those problems. Number two, one of the biggest challenge of digital transformation is managing people and change management. He gave an example where you talk about agile and you get a third party to implement a project on agile, but I mean your staff do not understand what agile is. It's a big example of why digital transformation will fail. So it's really, really about people. George Westerman said digital transformation is not just about technology, it's about reimagining your company to be more agile, more customer centric, more collaborative, and more innovative. Ladies and gentlemen, this summarizes everything you need to know about digital transformation. It's not just about technology, it's making sure your company fits in all these dots. Yeah, and as an individual, why does this concern you? It should concern you because you need to also align yourself with being agile, being customer centric, being more collaborative in the way you work, and of course, being more innovative. So this can I always try to see this teaching and also try to personalize it. Right? If you're not agile in your thoughts, if you're somebody who is fixed in your thoughts, you're not open to other ideas, you're not open to other ways of thinking, you'll find it very difficult in this time and age. Secondly, if you're not focused on customers and how they feel, by customers, I mean if you're an employee in an organization, if you're, for example, if you're an IT, the business is your customer, that user is your customer, the accountant or the accounts officer that has transaction issue is your customer if you're an IT. So don't see customer like the person outside buying your business. No, as an employee, as long as you're serving other people, those people are your customers. And it's very important. If you're an accountant, the CFO and all those who are relying on your services are your customers. So there are internal customers and there are external customers. So if you have to make sure you have that in your mind, that as an employee, you have internal customers, people you should be serving or people you should serve. And you also have the bigger external customers, those people that use your product or your service. You should also learn to be more collaborative as an individual. So I'm trying to personalize it now. If you want to survive an environment that is agile and that is change driven, you have to transform yourself from somebody who hoards knowledge or who doesn't like sharing or who stays in your corner because it's more convenient for you to walk at your own pace and stay in your corner. No, you should change that mindset. You should be more collaborative in the way you work and support people also through their journey. And you have to think innovatively. That is a summary of what digital transformation is. And I'm trying to also, this is both the company perspective. I'm also trying to make you personalize this. It is when you start thinking in this way that you will truly transform yourself and it will show in the way you work. And it's very, very important. So thank you, George Westerman. Again, we'll look at the Institute of Digital Transformation. It says digital transformation is the integration of digital technologies into business, resulting in the reshaping of an organization that orients it it around customer experience. So it's reshaping an organization so that innovation will revolve round customer experience. You see, again, digital transformation is really not about technology. It's about people. It's about your customers. It's about your employees. It's about business value and constantly changing. I hope this has been established. Of course, we have a lot of digital transformation projects around the world. I won't spend a lot of time here, but we have a huge investment in digital transformation. You know, there's a quote here. There's a information here that says, according to IDC research, worldwide spending on digital transformation is forecast to reach 4 trillion by 2027, according to the new IDC spending guide. Again, here we have investment in digital transformation in the world, guide to growth and opportunities. By 2023, global IT spending reached 4.7 trillion. Italy is also doing well. So you can see this person said it will get to 4.4 trillion in 2027, but a more recent says it's already in 4.7 trillion. So why does this concern you? It concerns you because if you see where organizations are investing in, you should align your career to that path, or else you might be left out. So it's very, very important that if organizations are spending in this, you should also be concerned about it. Now, what are the key drivers of digital transformation is what we're going to see. So we have, why should businesses take digital transformation seriously? There's a quote here that says, according from John Chambers, from Cisco, at least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technologies and, of course, customer wants and all that. So it's really a serious challenge. We have some Cisco employees here to share their views on digital transformation, but for the want of time, I'm going to skip this. Um, and of course, we have said that why should businesses take it seriously? And I mean, you guys have shared your thoughts. One is staying competitive. Two is, to meet customer expectations, which are constantly changing. Three is operational efficiency. Four is data as a strategic asset. Five is for the company to be agile and resilient. Six is risk, to be compliant, to manage risk and security issues. And seven, to future-proofing the business. That's why organizations should, make sure that they are digitally transformed. Now, another very important question is why digital transformation should be a concern for you and your career. Why should this be a concern to you? Why should you take this seriously? And like I said initially, and I would like to stress it again that, the world is changing very fast. But some of us feel like, because we're not seeing it, it's not it's something you can touch. But really, if you're somebody who is in certain careers, you would definitely feel the pressure, especially when you go apply for jobs. There's a quote here that says, digital transformation helps create new jobs, improve profits, and half of all revenues are influenced by digital. So there's a point I want you to note. Digital transformation helps create new jobs. The question is, these new jobs that digital transformation is creating, are you qualified for it? Do you think you have what it takes to be part of those who will get these jobs? That's a very big question. If digital transformation is creating new jobs, and yes, there are new jobs, there are a lot of jobs, in fact, but many people are not getting it because they have not transformed themselves too. Because the jobs that digital transformation will create are jobs that need somebody who is transformed to get it. Now, let's look at why it should concern you. First is the present and the future of work is digital. So you have to have that at the back of your mind. Two is employers expect digital mindsets. So don't come with your frozen mindset, or your mindset that is a K, or your mindset that is not agile but is fixed on a particular way of thinking. That would not work in this day and age. In this day and age, employers want what people will call Gen Zs or Gen Qs or whatever you call them. So they call them, those people, they classify on the people who call Gen Zs. They are called Gen Zs because their mindset is digital. They think differently. They know how to use technology to provide solutions. If you're not in Gen Z in this day and age, whether you're 40, you're 50, you're 70, you're 60, if you're not part of if you call Gen Z and you don't put yourself inside there, there is problem, because that's the age we are in now. So when we say Gen Z and you feel you're not part of Gen Z, it's a problem for you and for your career. You have to be part of Gen Z. So when they say Gen Z, you raise up your hand and say, yes, I'm a Gen Z. So it's not about age, it's about the way they think. And you must come to that level in this day and age. And that's something that's a message I need to pass. If you're not Gen Z in this day and age, it's scary. You're sitting at a fence, and unfortunately, you might not meet the next 10 years. Secondly, is for career growth and leadership. So if you want to grow, you need to be able to why it should concern you is because companies are investing heavily in these technologies and they need people who will use them. Fortunately, if you're not one who is skilled, your career will not grow. You struggle. You will struggle. Fourth is resilience and adaptability. If you open up your mind to being transformed, your way you think will change. Your mindset will change. You will you'll be someone who quickly adapts to changing situations within your environment. It also empowers you personally when you transform yourself. It empowers you. You feel this when you absorb knowledge, your confidence level goes up. It's something you cannot deny. When you know, the more you know, the more confident you are. Then, of course, it opens you up to global opportunities. Some of us have stayed in our countries and have gotten jobs outside the continent where we stay. There are people who get global jobs and turn them down. They reject them. There are people who have who they beg them, to come to fly thousands of miles to come and work. Those people are not different from us as human beings. They have just been transformed. So leave this place today telling yourself that what should I do in the next few months to transform myself? It could be learning some new skill. It could be reading every day. It could be, going for another program. It could just be something, but make sure that you are transforming yourself. If you're not transforming yourself, unfortunately, it will be difficult. The opportunity is shrinking because the people who will take these opportunities are already Gen Zs. You cannot stand them when you appear for interviews. So it's not, it's sad, but that's the way it is. When you go for interviews, a lot of people are coming with skills and experiences that if you're not competitive, which is what digital transformation helps companies, if you're not also competitive as a person, it will be very difficult for you to survive in this day and age. So you need to upskill to remain competitive, just the way organizations need to transform to remain competitive. You as an individual need to upskill yourself to also remain competitive. It is not negotiable. You don't pray and fast it out. You have to sit down and develop yourself. It's not a spiritual thing. You have to sit down and take it as a personal responsibility to develop yourself, to remain competitive. If you're not competitive, you have left. You have left you are no longer relevant in this time and age. Unfortunately, that is the truth. So let's take that as a message. I'm going to rush through this session and I'm going to go through a case study before we go. I think how many minutes do I have? I have about 11 minutes. Now we have a case study about digital transformation for a company we call Global Foods Limited. And I'm going to show you another case study briefly before we go. So I have just 10 minutes to show these two case studies. Now, here's a case study of a company, and we're going to see where they were and how digital transformation supported them. Now, case study identifying transformation opportunities for global foods. Okay, so let's look at the background. Now, Global Foods INC, which basically means international, is a mid-sized food manufacturing company with operations across Europe and Africa. The company had a strong market presence, but faced challenges with manual processes, slow reporting, and poor supply chain visibility. Take note, manual processes, slow reporting, and poor supply chain visibility. Unfortunately, a lot of companies are actually going through this. And if you work in a place and you see any of these examples, please personalize this and see how this course can help you be the solution to that problem. Now, so for the challenges which I have summarized here, one was inefficient finance operations. Two, they had supply chain issues. And three, of course, they had issues with customer expectations. And 4, they had also challenges with data silos. Of course, for inefficient finance operations, my thought is that, month end, for those who are finance people, at the end of every month, you have to close your books, right? They might be using spreadsheet and manual reconciliations to do that. For supply chain, it might be very difficult tracking inventory. That would probably lead to stockouts, because if your inventory process is not automated, you have issues with, and once you have issues with tracking inventory and making sure that there are enough inventory in the warehouse for your production, and that will affect customer and customer relationship. 4 is customer expectation. Of course, once your supply chain is disrupted, it will affect customer expectation, right? So you might not be able to meet up on time, and of course, that alone would have a very bad customer experience. So these are some of the challenges. Of course, they also have data silos where finance, sales, operations, everybody had their own information on Excel, on their own system somewhere. There was no single source of truth for all these. There was no alignment. Before you do a group report or a corporate report, everybody needs to come to the conference room and share information and all that. That takes a lot of time. So decision is very poor, and not and most times it would have information would have elapsed, and not be useful anymore. So these are some of the key challenges that this global company was facing. Now, the question really is, and I'd like us to participate for 2 minutes, what opportunities can you identify? By opportunities, I mean, can you suggest ways that, you know, having looked at the issues, what opportunities can you see that can, how can you advise this company, or what opportunities can you see that can help improve this company's state, that can, better position this company in a good state? So from this problem that these guys are going through, from these challenges, what opportunities do you see as a person? Go ahead, Johannes. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name very well. Please go ahead. What opportunities do you see? So
Yes, the supply chain.
if you're okay, let me just rephrase. If you're an employee in this company and you have gone through this course, and your organization is going through something like this, what would be your advice, or what opportunities do you see? Go ahead. Thank you.
So there are processes that are not obviously aligned that would obviously help them to develop. So there is, like, for
Okay.
instance, the supply chain is obviously a challenge. So they need
Okay.
to have a system which links the company and its suppliers in such a way that they will have an agile system that enables them to
Okay.
order on time and be able to
Mm-hmm.
dispatch. And also on the reporting side, they need a
Okay.
system where, well, I mean, the SAP ecosystem would obviously put that through quite well, because then it allows them to connect with suppliers, allows
Okay.
them to do to improve on their employees, and also to to enable the reporting, well,
Okay.
reporting that happens almost instantly.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. That was a very good, and I think that's the essence of this class. When you go back with the mindset, go to your companies and start looking for problems, start looking for process improvement opportunities. I think that's one of the ways you can stand out where you work. So you have to identify these issues and start thinking of how you can profile solutions, and the things you can do to improve them. You can use your work as a case study. Go ahead, Samuel.
So basically, when you were explaining, you mentioned data silos. So
Yes.
one major way to solve that is to ensure that there's a central data bank where
Okay.
everyone that needs to use that data to make decisions have access to it. And when edits are done, they should be done in that central place instead of having. And I've also learned from experience that some digital transformation does not require new technology, but effective using existing technology, the right way to solve them. So in this case, having that central data point, having everyone that needs access to it to have access to it, granting a few people editing access so that they can make changes and everyone gets to see this current state of information in the system.
Thank you very, very much, Samuel. I appreciate your thoughts. Another person wants to share? I think Emma has said automate their finance processes, automate data. Thank you very much for sharing that. And really, and thank you so much, Johannes and Samuel, for your key points. I mean, for reporting, improving the system such that reports is seamless. Look at supply chain to make sure it's agile, and of course, come up with a central data plan to make sure we have the single source of truth for data. Okay, I mean, I said implement a system that serves as a single source of truth. Thank you very, very much. And sincerely, this is what a lot of companies are going through. And let's just see how we can support with this really. And when you go back to your various offices, start looking for this kind of issues, and if possible, start thinking about it and engage with your manager or engage with whoever is responsible and come up with solutions. That might also be a good way you can sell yourself and your skill. So if you look at what opportunities are there, first you can say that a way to identify opportunity also, I will come to that before now coming to the solution, is now if you're in an organization, if you look this as an example, of course, data silos were there, we have issues, we have inefficient finance operations, we had supply chain disruptions, but this is now a little bit practical from me. If you where you work tomorrow or Monday, when you get to work, just take a biro and paper and sit down and brainstorm and identify data transformation activities in your workplace, like processes you think that needs to be improved, or some activities that you think take a lot of time, or some manual processes that is there, and it will help you start understanding the essence of digital transformation. So one is, check where processes are slow or error prone. So check if you get to work, depending on where you work and how you work, even if your work is not digitally enabled, or you work as a health person, there are processes within that health sector, handling the patient and all that. There are a lot of things you can identify. So this is really relative. Secondly is check where customers experience friction. If you're within the customer space, or if you can engage with those in the customer side of things, ask them, where do you think, what are our major challenges with supporting our customers? And you're going to understand where the friction is. That is an opportunity for transformation. A manual process is an opportunity for transformation. An error-prone process is an opportunity for transformation. And also check which decision suffers from lack of real-time data. We talk about data silos. So in your business, in your organization, what are check decisions that are suffering because we don't have real-time insights. Before we get that real-time insight, we need to get people together. We need to get information from these different sources and put them together. That is an opportunity for transformation. Check manual tasks, which can be automated. For example, month-end processes, audit processes, serving your customers, taking long calls, explaining long processes and all that. That's also an opportunity for transformation. And in this example, and thank those who shared their thoughts. It's simple. If you look at these problems, which has been identified already, you see that one of them is if you implement, for example, if inefficient finance operations, of course, you need to identify what that finance operation is, what is the root cause, how can technology improve that. So there's always, when you identify this problem, you get to the root and try to provide a solution to it. Also, supply chain disruptions. These are all challenges that you can implement a digital transformation journey or digital transformation process to help improve these issues. Now, from lessons learned, really, first is start with pain points. So if you want to identify digital opportunities for digital transformation, start with that place that is giving the employees or staff issues. So start with pain points. So within your, even within your, in your relationships, in your family, if you want to solve, if you want to make things and improve the way things are, always start with where, the pain points. Have this customer-centric view, like I've said, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a staff, as long as your job is helping other people do their job, those people you're helping are your customers. So your customers are not necessarily the customers that patronize business. As a staff, you are serving other people. Those people you're serving are your customers. Have that customer-centric view. It will help you, be more agile, and be more, emotionally intelligent with the way you relate with them when you see them as your customers than just seeing them as your fellow employees. That's a very good mindset if you want to really stand out in your workplace. That will drive the way you talk, the way you engage. When you see a fellow employee as a customer, it will change the way you relate with that person, and you see that your relationship and your collaboration will be better. Second lesson learned is data is key. As much as possible, get data. Fourth is you have to make sure you do cross-functional engagement. Reach out to other team members, share your ideas. Second is you have to prioritize quick wins as much as possible. Now, I'm just going to run briefly to what we call enterprise resource planning. I just have a few minutes, but I want to talk about enterprise resource planning. We have a different session for SAP S/4HANA, but really, let me just look at it at a glance. For those who are new to technology, and for those who have used SAP before, this is just to give us a very high level stuff. But I want to run through to the case study before we close. Now, SAP S/4HANA is what we call an ERP. ERP means resource, enterprise resource planning. Now, by definition here, it's a suite of integrated applications that manage core business processes across organization. Remember that one of the areas in digital transformation is processes. So one of the tools you use to manage processes. ERP is not used to manage staff. But unfortunately, when we implement ERPs, we want the staff to bend to align with the ERP. That's the wrong way. The essence of ERP is to manage processes, not to manage staff. Staff are supposed to manage the ERP, not the other way around, right? So the essence of ERP is to make sure that core processes across the organization are integrated. So you can see that one of the issues we had with our case study was, processes. There were processes that were sitting outside the system, and people were doing things from different systems. So making ERP is one of the tools you can use to make sure that all those processes are integrated, so that they can get a single source of truth, on how the business is performing. Now, SAP is one of those ERPs. We have a lot of ERPs. You can see in this picture, we have SAP, we have Oracle, we have Info, we have Dynamics, we have a lot of ERPs. SAP is just one of those ERPs that we use to manage those processes. And of course, we don't have a lot of time to run through the features, but just to give you some context, this helps the essence of SAP is to help large enterprises exercise transactions and real-time assessment of business information. So it's just one of those tools that large organizations use to manage their procurement, their sales, their finance, their logistics, everything. They just make sure that everything is in one place and they have that integrated view. I'm just trying to be as simple as possible. HANA in that SAP means high performance analytical appliance. So it's a technology that is in memory. So it's very fast and the performance is very high. S4 HANA as a whole is a short form for SAP Business Suite 4. SAP HANA, meaning that it's the fourth version of SAP Business Suite, but it's designed to run only on SAP S4 HANA. S4 HANA is a database where the application sits on. Of course, like I said, I want to go deep into this, but it's most noteworthy to attribute. The attribute of SAP HANA is its simplicity and ability to work on large volumes of data. So most of the Fortune 500 companies, 90% of them sit on this platform. That's why it's one of the applications that I mean in the ERP space, SAP has a lot of opportunities for those who understand how to use the system and how it works. For the core functionalities, I'm not going to sit so much in there, but it provides real-time analytics and reporting, offers modern SAP Fiori user interface, embeds AI and machine learning, can be deployed on premise, and a whole lot. But let me move to the final part of this. We're going to pick up this session in the next class. I just want to make sure, I want to take us through another case study and we'll wrap it up there. Yeah. So this is the case study and this is the final. So for case study, and this case study is really around applying SAP digital transformation framework, a case study for widgets INC from stagnation to streamlined success. So let's look at this case study before we go. I'm already out of time. So here is a case study focusing on the problems they faced and how digital transformation with SAP supported its digital transformation. So one is that this company was a mid-sized manufacturing company with long history of producing specialized industry components. It was founded in 1970 and was quite doing well. Now, one of the challenges was facing was number one, inefficient operations and manual processes, just like many companies. There were poor management order process, lack of inventory control was part of the issues, missed production schedules because of poor production planning, poor compliance to quality control. The second issue he was facing was lack of data and insight, right? So no centralized information, poor decision making, limited customer understanding. He also had an issue with customer dissatisfaction and eroding competitiveness, slow response, timelines, inconsistent deliveries, competitive advantage was not there. And of course, the next is employee frustration and morale, because people is always a big part of why these things don't work. So we have repetitive manual processes, we have lack of collaboration among staff members, we have limited growth opportunities. And of course, the question is, how would you advise this company to improve the way they work? Because of want of time, I won't want to go through that, but one way we can do that is to take them through their digital transformation journey with SAP S/4HANA. And there are two things I have here on the screen. When we meet in our next sessions, for those who are going to continue, we're going to understand fully what we call the SAP Digital Transformation Framework, which I developed myself, what it is and how we can leverage that to drive digital transformation. And of course, we have the SAP S/4HANA Digital Core, which is also very important. So I'm going to stop here. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I just want to let you know that the company implemented these two strategies, and you can see that they had most of their issues or challenges were solved. SAP S/4HANA brought in a lot of automation of workflows. There was good production planning. for issues with decision making. The system brought in real-time reporting, embedded analytics. For the issue with customer issues, we had core modules like SD, we had Customer 360, we had CRM experience. And of course, the outcome was, improve customer satisfaction, data-driven decision, empowered employees and positive culture, and of course, streamlined, efficient process. And we have this picture that just gives you a conclusion on what digital transformation is. You can see this on the left-hand side. It looks like, of course, the past, the ways of working that was very manual. You can see a lot of files. And we now have the transformed state, which has a lot of technology. And you can see this guy here smiling because this is the same guy here. He was stressed out, and now he's here and he's smiling. I think this has brought us to the end of our session. If we have 1 or 2 minutes, if anyone wants to share, what will be your major takeaway from this session today? Just something off your head. What would be one of the things that if your colleagues ask you what did you learn from this session, what will it look like? What stuck to your mind as we had gone through this training? Anybody wants to share? What's your major takeaway from this session, and what will you do after now? I just love maybe 1 or 2 persons. Just share your thoughts and what will be your decision going forward as we move on. Anybody, lessons learned, and share your thoughts. Anybody wants to try? What has really
Transformation.
struck your mind? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've picked out that transformation is more than just technology. It obviously has to
Yeah.
talk to the people that use technology, and obviously make sure that customers become part of the transformation
Yeah.
and the people that are within the organization. So when we have all those three pillars all in one,
Mm,
it
mm.
obviously can only spell success for the organization that initiates.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Johannes. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Koichi. Thank you so much for the session. It was great and I'm highly educated. So, what's my takeaway from this is that digital transformation is not about technology, just like the other person has spoken. It's more around data, the people, transforming the minds of people to understand innovation in a different perspective. And I think lately I was having a discussion with our CEO, and he was like, "Oh, we need you guys to more like digitalize processes and make a lot of changes." And I'm really glad I had this session because it's something I'm doing like more study around in order to find out areas that we can digitalize as part of finance and exit processes. So
Awesome.
it's a great session, and thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen. I appreciate that, and I wish you all the best as you move towards your digital transformation journey. And I think that another way it can help us is as employees, don't just wait, right? You can start now. I think I'll give you an example, and I'm sharing this, for free to all of us. It's a skill. It's a secret I had, but I'm willing to share it. In one, I in one of my jobs, when I joined, um, I had, understood what this whole thing was all about. Um, in the first few months or few weeks, I really took time to observe. So I observed, I asked questions. My idea was to come up with a document for which I called it digital transformation, something around driving change within fire and ERP processes. Nobody asked me, right? I joined, I started observing, but I wanted to impact. I wanted to impress. I wanted to let them know that the person they employed is not just, they had value in what in the service in me. So I took time, I observed, and I documented over 36 processes that I it's just like when you join a company, they say look for safety spots. So I was looking for transformation sports. That's what I call it. So instead of saying safety sports, companies would say if you spot a safety issue, report it. Me, I was spotting transformation issues and documenting them. And I didn't just document them. I came up with solutions. Of course, I did a lot of research. I came up with, I tried to look at how I went down to explaining how this will improve revenue. And if there's no employer who doesn't want to hear that if you do this and this, it will increase by this and this. And I shared that information with my manager. I mean, he was shocked, because I did a presentation first and made sure that there were other I made sure there was also my staff, my team members were there. I did a presentation. He was just shocked. For the next 3 minutes, he was shocked that there were things we were not taking serious. They were there, they were existing, but I felt that we as employees we should have been doing more because I was sitting in the business improvement space, in the business transformation space. So I felt that we should have been doing more as a team, and I took it upon myself to go do this thing myself. And when I downloaded, I gave facts and figures. I mean, you don't want to know how that my rating in the eyes of my my manager. I had one of the best rating as a staff in the yearly, and my what they pay as bonus was really handsome. And that's the mindset I want to push towards, that digital transformation is not just, I mean, it's something you can take as a lifestyle. You can also look at yourself and tell yourself how you need to, areas that you think you need to improve, and improve them. And also, if you find yourself in an environment, in a church, in anywhere, it should be a mindset, not just something it should be a mindset. You have to have the digital transformation mindset. You have to always be thinking about, like I've said again, when you go back to your office, if you work in IT or any department, see your other employees or other people enjoying your service as customers. Don't just see them as employees. When you see them as customers, it changes, it just has this different view. Just the way you will not talk to your customer anyhow, or just the way you would think the customer is right. That's the way you treat your fellow employees, because you are serving them. They are your customers. And that mindset has helped me a lot in engaging with key stakeholders when I'm in ERP projects. I don't see them as employees, I see them as customers. And I hope that, as we learn, as we improve, this would be something you would, take with you as you move on. So thank you very much, everyone, really. And I am very honored to have you join. And please, of course, the next step will I'll get these videos on YouTube. I'm going to share it in my YouTube channel. Please just search for Kelechi Kelly Adele. I'm going to I share these information, so I don't hop them. So I'm going to share them on YouTube. If you follow me, you'll definitely get a prompt. And for those who want to learn any of this, you can take a screenshot. I think my number is somewhere here. Yeah, you can send me WhatsApp if any of these trainings appeal to you. You can take a snapshot. I think we have an upcoming session for SAP business analysis training. It's basically around project management within SAP. For those who want to really understand how we drive projects within ERP, those sessions might be of interest to you. And of course, we'll continue this journey as we go. And once again, I want to say thank you for joining. I appreciate your time. For all those who contributed and those who joined, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us. And I wish everybody a nice weekend. And hopefully, we'll do this some other time. Thank you very much and have a good weekend.